Hi, welcome to the She Moves Mountains podcast. This is your host, Kamala Murphy. Thanks for joining us today as we talk about some of the juicy stuff we women experience that makes this life journey truly amazing. You know, the nitty-gritty, the love, the loss, the falling down and rising up, the getting lost and finding our way again. To our hearts, our happiness, and to the awareness that we can and do move mountains. Thank you for joining. So welcome everyone. This is Kamala Murphy. Welcome to this episode of the She Moves Mountains podcast. Today I am so excited. I have a lovely speaker with us today, a friend of mine. I've known her a while now, and she just makes my heart happy every time I see her and hear her. So I know that you will enjoy our guest today. She is Lorianne Speaks, and she's an expert in the area of speaker and author support. She amplifies the visibility of her clients, the authors and speakers and messengers, while they do what they love. Oftentimes that's speaking. Lorien has helped spearhead multiple best-selling book campaigns, editing, proofing, through to the launch and social media marketing to help authors create the buzz and momentum throughout the social media platforms and increasing their message worldwide. Lorianne and her team have made it their mission to empower speakers to deliver the message by handling all the details, the behind the scenes, which we really need, right? Prior to starting her own company, Lorianne had over 15 years of professional experience supporting a top 100 thought leader as she built her businesses. What happened with that is part of Lorianne's mountain moving. So I'll let her talk about that a little bit later. But today she has her own company, LVS Consulting Services, with a team of 5 that supports speakers and authors in various stages of their business growth. She's the mother of 3 and raised her children as a single mom, at times having as many as 4 jobs.
I'm tired already.
That sort of blows my mind, right? And now the harvesting of all that, she gets to be the grandmother of 7, Grammy, and though she may not have chosen to venture out on her own, she's come to recognize that it is her path and her mission. So I am so thrilled to welcome Lorianne Speaks to our call today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. That was so sweet. Yes, I get to be Grammy now.
Yeah.
And getting to do that and have my own business. I think I am truly enjoying this chapter in my life.
Yeah.
More than any other.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. So as you had gone from working for someone else, and as we always talk about on She Moves Mountains, there are things that we go through that sort of, oftentimes knock us for a loop, knock us off the path that we really expected to be on. And it's like, how do I regroup and start again? So I'd love to have you share just a little bit about what this experience was like, and what's opened up for you.
Sure. And, and I think when you reach my age, and I turned 62 this year. So when you reach my age, there's been a few of those moments throughout my life. But back in 2017, my boss, who was actually 75 and I was 60, she decided to sell her company. And in doing so, it meant that I was now unemployed and 60 in Los Angeles, which I swear seems to be the youth capital of the world.
Right.
So yeah, it was a little bit scary. I will say. But, I'm the kind of person that instead of getting all teary-eyed and afraid, I get mad and go after things.
Mm.
And it's done me well throughout my life. But I'm here to say there were some mountains that really needed to be moved. And I had to go from, the employee mentality to being a business owner, and all that comes with that. And, because I realized corporate America did not want a 60-year-old employee. I had to have put out 100 different resumes, and I did not get one call, not one. And
Wow.
it's not like I jumped around. I was like the most stable person. I had spent 15 years with that most recent employer, and 10 the one before that, and 10 the one before that. So it was like, what's the negative here, people? It was so eye-opening. But I can say, as I start my third year in business, thank you, corporate America, for not wanting me. And so I put my head down and got to work. And I think, especially as an older person, and not that 60 is old anymore. My mom is 91.
Wow.
And so I realized though that I did not want to sit on my butt for 30 more years. I still had superpowers to share, and I wanted to go ahead and share them. And so instead of working for just one speaker, I now work with 10 to 15 at any given time.
Wow.
So it's wonderful and exciting, and I learn something new from each client, because not everyone is in the same genre. So yeah, I get to learn something new each time, and grow with my skills.
Yeah. Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
To have range of experiences, and
Exactly.
pick and choose is like, ooh, that's exciting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And my company has changed, and, we do have to sometimes zig and zag in our journey. And
you mean it's not a straight line?
Oh, golly gee. Someone, and I have forgotten who, and I apologize if you're listening to this and you're sitting there going, I'm the one that told you that, Lorianne. When flights, they're all computerized, and they have their GPS set for their landing, but within that, they are constantly refiguring where they're at. They're always off a little bit, and having to recenter where they're going throughout the entire flight, which is why you need those guys in the cockpit.
Right.
So, but that was just really eye-opening for me, is that even something like that has its weaves, bobbing and weaving throughout.
Right.
And as long as you stay true to your values and your beliefs, start weaving. Yeah, you got to go with the flow sometimes.
Right. That brings up a question. You've been working with this thought leader for so long, and then you realize, I'm not going to get a job in corporate America or in the traditional field.
Yes, the traditional field.
So when you chose this path with supporting speakers and authors, did that just feel like it was a natural flow, or how did you choose that niche?
I have always been the detail person. I'm that person that makes sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and everything, nothing falls through a crack. And I realized that was a superpower I had. When I started my company, I knew I had to go with what was my strength. And I knew the creative community, and many people in the creative community have amazing ideas and great plans, but they have no idea how to get there, right?
Right.
So I can take somebody's idea and reverse engineer it and give you the steps needed to reach that. So even though I consider my company a virtual assistance company, because we are all virtual, we're not VAs. I come in and I actually partner with my clients to say, okay, what's your goal this year? How, and how are we going to get there?
Awesome.
And I help them reach those goals.
Right. Because like you say, having sort of a creative side myself, it's like details. Sometimes I'm very good at it, but most of the time it's like if I have a brainstorm, it's like, I want to do that. And, there are a number of little things that need to be taken care of along the way.
Which is why you guys need someone like me.
Right.
I mean, I've always said I'm the behind the scenes person. So it's really quite humorous that I find myself now being the podcast guest and writing my own book and doing all these things that I never, ever thought would happen. And I'm enjoying the heck out of it, to be real honest with you.
Awesome. Well, I do want to hear more about that, because you've gone from the one, what sort of opened up to this new, not a new way of doing it, something, but just this new, what's the word? I can't think of it. My age is getting to me.
No. We're not allowed to say that. So, no,
it's just a brain fart. That's all it is.
And we both know this wonderful woman, Melanie Benson, was my mentor when I very first started. And so we were sitting down and talking, and I was telling her what I did, and we just went on. She just stops and goes, "Lorianne, you have so much knowledge. You need to be going out on stage and talking about these things." And she's the one that really just said, "You got to go with this." And she was the one that brought me to New Media Summit and learning about the podcasting world, because my boss was very much old school, speak from the stage, and she had 6 best-selling books. So, and when I say that, I'm not talking Amazon. I'm talking, Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
So there is a bit of a difference, but we won't go into that because I am a Amazon bestseller. So, it was Melanie that really got me motivated to step out of my comfort zone. And I think that's something that many of us, I think it gets harder and harder the older we get. We think, we're just stuck in this and we're going to do this because I'm 60 years old. What the heck, how am I supposed to change now? But we can, and we should, and embrace the stuff. I mean, I don't have the kids to worry about anymore.
Right.
I don't have all that. And so this time is now for me. And I can embrace going and traveling and doing things and speaking to people and helping people out and mentoring them. My kids say, I love mentoring. And I've done that, I swear, since high school. I was always the designated driver. I was the one that was looking out for everybody. And my kids say, "Mom, you're not a mentor. You just like to tell people what to do." Which is kind of true. But I go with the fact of, let me give you this piece of information and you can go with it or not go with it.
Right.
When I speak to my clients, this is still their name that they're putting out there. But as opposed to like a VA that you bring in at $10 or $15 an hour and they just do exactly what they're told to do, I will go, "But Kamala, have you thought about this? We could do this or this or this." Right. And so to open your mind to some different ways of doing things to grow your business. So I love the mentoring aspect, and I've actually started a mentoring program for newbies. Yeah, because I have I don't want to call it a stable. They talk about the stable of talent, right?
Right.
I have authors with 30, 40 years of experience who really need me more on an administrative level, helping with logistics and things like that. But I love helping those that may have been in corporate America for the last 20 years, but now have decided to be the coach or the consultant coming in and want to speak their message. And in doing so, I'm helping them actually create all their materials, and then we'll sit down and we do their presentations. And I sit back and I pretend like I'm the person listening to the presentation and give feedback. And I swear to you, I love this. I found my passion in mentoring the young. I shouldn't say young, because a lot of them are not necessarily young, but newbies
Newer.
in the speaking business.
Yeah.
So even though this was so scary in December 8th, 2017, but who remembers such things like that? Even though it was so scary at the time, I am so glad it happened.
Yes.
Because I wake up in the morning going, ooh, I get to do this today. You know, today I've actually done 3 podcasts today. Who knew?
Wow. Wow.
Who knew?
Yes.
So it's just been a blast.
Yeah. You know, we're not sure if we are going to actually do the video, show the video, but I have to tell you, when I'm seeing you and listening to you share about this work that you're doing now, you just light up. So I'm sure the energy is going to come through. And it's interesting because, you know, a lot of people sort of assume that as you get to a certain age, you're going to, you know, slow down and become grandmotherly or something like that. And more women our age are like, no, I'm vibrant. And you know,
Exactly.
I talk a lot about flambe, which is feeling like $1 million every day and being vibrant.
Exactly.
So I just love hearing this and being able to see how you light up.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're mentoring and modeling for people who maybe are only 5 years behind, or the ones who are in their 30s. They see you and hear you and get to change mindset, you know?
Yeah. And as I said, you know, that old adage that an old dog can't learn new tricks, please take that one out of your context.
So not true.
Because it is so not true. It is so not true. I had, in the last few years with working for my boss, the other girl in the office who was just in her late 20s was given all the social media and all the new fun things to do because I was, quote unquote, too old. Now, I do social media for, I can't tell you how many of my clients. And although when you do a search on me, don't look at the number of followers I have on Twitter because I'm too busy doing everybody else's.
Right.
I'm the cobbler with no shoes. So, you know, I think I have a whopping 140 followers or something. So, you know, it's like, oh, well, but the beauty is that my clients, if there's something I really want to get out, my clients are so generous and put it out to theirs, and they have 15, 20, 30,000 followers. Right. So it, you know, I have the best of both worlds with regards to that.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. You know, I do want to go back. We've talked a lot or a little bit about the, you know, the positives, but, you know, there are a couple of things that I think listeners are going to be interested in. You know, clearly I don't know this for sure. I'm assuming that, you know, you didn't say, oh, I'm going to start LVS Consulting today and have it just blossom. So I'm wondering about a couple of things. You know, what were some of the things that were obstacles or maybe mountains, small mountains to move? And, you know, what if other people are thinking about, you know, moving from corporate, for example, or they have been laid off, what kind of advice do you have for people? I know that's 2 separate things.
Well, it does vary depending on your age too. You know, I had the blessing of not being in my 30s with kids and still having to deal with paying for high school and college and everything like that. I had a fairly small nut to crack when I was laid off. So And being 60, my house was actually paid off too, because that's the kind of
That
person I am.
helps. Yep.
So yeah, it's huge help. It's a huge help. Especially kids these days, and what I'm in Los Angeles, what they pay for a house here is absolutely insane. And I know up where you're at, it's crazy.
Right.
So, so they both have to be working and bringing in good incomes to make that house payment. And so I didn't have that. So I want to be clear, although there were certainly times that I was a bit stressed, I've always been a frugal person, so I had a nest egg. But that first year, actually the first 2 years, I didn't really have a profit per se, because as I grew, part of my mission is to bring in other women that are marginalized, such as myself. So I have brought in women to help me. And although they're 1099 through me as well, it's a way to spread it out. I'm going to go off on a tangent, and I apologize. I'm involved in this group called LifeWorks University, and it's all about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and which was written, I mean, it's quite humorous for we women to read, to be very honest with you, because it's directed strictly to the white male. But the theory is so right on, because unless you have that burning desire and the stick-to-itiveness to stay on purpose, you're not going to succeed.
Right.
So, but I was always that person that went, well, I don't really need to be a millionaire. So, I'd rather have the work-life balance. I'd rather just, blah, blah, blah. When you become on your own and this is your only income, it makes it a little bit more difficult to be blasé about that.
Right.
However, I still had that thought process in my head. And it was not until I was speaking to someone that I do a mastermind with that said, well, you don't have to keep all the money. Ding, 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 ding. I can help so many more people if I had the money to do so. I mean, don't we all see the stories of somebody giving $1 million to something, to just, and be like, wouldn't that be so cool to be able to do that?
Right.
And so this year I have embraced the ability to grow and be that 6-figure earner or more, so that I can do more on the charitable side that I want to do.
Nice.
So, I mean, it was like, oh, yeah, it doesn't have to be, the rich man gets into heaven, slower than the camel going through the eye of a needle. You can tell I'm not biblically, versed, but we all know that know that adage, right?
Right,
it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the gates of heaven.
Yes.
Did that stop me? A lot of the times it did. And not even knowingly, though.
Right.
Not even knowingly.
Yep.
I don't need more. I'm very comfortable. I don't need more. But what could I do if I had more?
If I had it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, if we could embrace that, my goodness. Think of all the things we could accomplish. Right? If we had that burning desire to get more so that we can give more.
Right.
So there's my tangent. Sorry about that.
No worries. I love it.
That's me.
I love that because that whole idea of if you have more, you're able to do more, but really expand. What would you love to be able to do and support and contribute?
And it's so funny because I would say maybe about 5-6 years ago, I wrote a whole business plan for a foundation that I wanted to set up when I won the lottery. God, I'm still working on that. God, I'm still, waiting for that lottery win. So as my mom would say,
Maybe
well, you got to buy a ticket, Lorianne, buy a ticket.
Well, at the rate you're going, you may just be able to
gosh, that
forget
would be so
the lottery.
Cool. That would be so cool. But yeah, and I don't want to make it seem as if it's all roses and wonderful, nothing ever bothered me. Oh, heck yeah. I had my scary times. And when I first started, I had one client that brought in about maybe $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I had that, nest egg, because that certainly wasn't enough, but I did a good job for her. She referred me. And I have to tell people, don't get upset with my boss who, laid me off at 60. I knew it was coming. And she, to this day, is still continuing to give me referrals. And whenever she is at a conference or anything with other speakers and authors, she is constantly talking me up and how wonderful I am and blah, blah, blah. And it's just so lovely to have that kind of support from my clients.
Yes. Yes.
And she actually had to hire me back because they had their publisher asked them to write a 6th edition of their book. And so they had to come to me and say, can you please, do some work for us? It was so nice to get this rate instead of what I used to get paid. It was lovely. Yeah. But no, I just want to make sure that no one, I remember when I said this once before and one of the podcasters said, what kind of dick, lays off someone 60 years old? And I was like, no, really, she wasn't. I knew it was coming.
Right.
But there was going to be no difference between 59 or 60, right?
Right.
So I stayed because she needed me to stay.
Yes. And I'm a big believer in, yes, stuff happens and it knocks you off, but what comes is so oftentimes more than we could ever have imagined.
Agreed.
So, and this is a perfect example because you are clearly thriving in this. Again, I just go back to your energy because it's just so bright. And
thank you.
And I'm sure that you were bright and cheery and of good energy.
Not as much. Mm-hmm. Not as much. I have the employee mentality, and I only work till 3:30 in the afternoon. And I was out that door at 3:30 in the afternoon, come hell or high water.
Yeah.
Now, I will work, and some days I'm done at 2. I will be very frank. Some days I'm done at 2. Some nights I'm here at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, finishing things that need to be done because it's my business now.
Right.
So again, there's positives and negatives. It's like 3:30 rolled around. I was done. I didn't think about it again until 9 o'clock when I walked through the door the next morning. There's something to be said for that because the work-life balance is very important. But I am enjoying my work life as much as my social life now. So it isn't a negative to be working longer hours.
Right.
So.
Right. It's something that gives you a soulful joy. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I would like to ask, there are 2 questions. One, where do you see, or do you have a grand plan for LVS Consulting Services? What's sort of your vision at this point?
I would like to see me move strictly into business development and the mentoring source of my income there, and hire more people to do the administrative, the social media, things along that line. I did hire my daughter full-time, and she is also that technological person. And you had asked about, what are some of those, difficulties that you face? I am a techno weenie. I am a great end user, but if something goes wrong, I go, what? I don't know what to do. So I love having her with me. I would love to be able to give this to her.
Oh,
As we move forward and I get less and less involved as I get older, handling just the mentoring, and I can take on one client. Right now, I'd love to have a good 10 clients on the mentoring side alone. So I would love to build that arm out because I so enjoy it. And then I actually love the business development side of things. So it's all good. And the more minutia kind of work that my clients want off their plate anyway, I have to admit, I want them off mine too. So that's why I have staff.
Right.
And
right.
you cannot scale yourself.
Right.
If you want to scale your business, you want it to grow, you need to bring in people to help you.
Right. Because we all have our genius, and
you need to live in that
everything.
Genius.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to live in that genius for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you know yours now for sure, and you get to expand that. So that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have one other question that I like to ask, and that is, if you had the opportunity to whisper in the ear of a younger version of Lorianne, probably in one of those dark times, what would you like to whisper to her?
It's interesting that you asked that. My mom used to say this to me, and I have said it to myself many a time, but it's, this too shall pass. Walk through it, right? Walk through it. And if we want to go back to my high school days, now Kamala knows me, I'm a big girl. In my high school days, if I could whisper to myself and say, wait a minute, girl, the older men are going to really love you. Don't get so crazed with regards to, your size or whatever, because there are guys out there that are going to love you.
Yeah.
And I think too many young girls are so inundated with what they, television or whatever says is the perfect being.
Yeah. Culture.
Yeah. It's like that would be something that I would have loved to have said to myself, because I think I was 50 before I finally just said, what the heck? This is me.
Right.
I weigh exactly what I weighed in high school. God knows it doesn't look the same, but how many 62-year-old grandmothers can say that?
Right.
So, so I sit there and I go, this is obviously the way God wanted me to be, and I'm going to embrace that. And this is me, and like it or not, right? But it took so many years to get there. Yeah. Way too many. So,
but I do love that it too, whispering to this too shall pass is just one of my favorites as well. Yeah. But being able to whisper to that 15, 17-year-old and, embrace who you are and where you are.
Right.
It's all good.
It's all good. You are perfect just the way you are.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Well, I thank you so much, Lorianne. This was so much fun. I just so enjoyed it.
And, thank you. I enjoyed it too.
I need to let people know, I will have this in the show notes, but you can reach Lorianne at lvsconsultingservices.com. And I'd like to also have you send me information about the LifeWorks University, because I'd like to put that in the show notes as well.
So great. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to. I'll get that out to you.
Great. So again, thank you so much. Just wonderful talking with you. Thank you for being my guest.
I love your heart. It's my pleasure. Anytime.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, all of you listeners. Until next time, love and blessings, and move your mountains. Take care. You've been listening to the She Moves Mountains podcast, coming to you every week. If you're a woman who wants to move mountains in your own life, please make sure to subscribe or follow this podcast. And if you've laughed or gotten teary or smiled knowingly, thinking, oh yeah, that's me too, please go ahead and rate the episode with 5 stars. It'll be a feel-good thing to do. Thanks a bunch. Lots of love and blessings to you. This is Kamala signing off. Until next week. Take care.